Next on the agenda is our insurance. Like I touched on earlier, these are some new benefits that we're going to be offering. I think the cost of them is really good for what you get. I mentioned earlier, it's all about life insurance. This is life insurance over and above the $20,000 that you automatically get from Riley, okay? So I don't want you to think this replaces it. You automatically got 20 grand. This is additional that you can purchase as a good rate. Also, we're going to be talking about short-term disability insurance, okay? So if you get injured at home, you fall off the ladder, whatever, you can get this short-term disability that'll pay you up to 60% of your gross, tax-free. I don't want you to think if you claim this benefit at the end of the year, you're going to be taxed on that income, because it's not income. Okay? So 60% of your gross, you can get it for up to 13 weeks per occurrence. Okay? So, Beth, Jennifer, come on down.
Hi everyone, welcome. Glad you all could make it. Jennifer and I are pretty soft-spoken. Mike has a nice booming voice, so you can hear him. And if you want to gather closer, we don't have a microphone. So we wanted to explain these new optional benefits that we are going to start offering August 1st. One is the life insurance. You can buy extra life insurance for yourself, your spouse, and your dependents under 26. This life insurance is portable, which means when you quit here or get fired, just kidding. You can take it with you. This is all at your expense, so I will be taking the premium out weekly like we do for the health insurance. But once you would leave, you would get it in your own name and at your own address and then send it in. The nice thing about this life insurance is up to $150,000, no medical questions, no physical to pass, which is very unusual. So you are guaranteed issue up to the $150,000. You can get increments of 10, 20, 30, all the way up to that, but it's guaranteed issue, which is pretty unusual if you know, especially if you already had a heart attack or diabetes or all that. This is really good. I'm going to pass out the sheets, and you need to please fill them out and get them back to us ASAP. Even if you don't want to participate, we need you to waive it and sign it. The second benefit that Mike told you about is that short-term disability. It has nothing to do with workers' comp. If you have a workers' comp claim, you cannot use the short-term disability. Workers' comp would cover your payments while you're off. The short-term disability would be for any kind of injury or illness, okay? So anything that's, I'm going to let Jennifer explain it. She is much better, but I'm just giving you kind of the lowdown on it. So anyway, if you get hurt at home or have an illness, you can get up to 60% of your pay.
How much is that a week?
Depends. Everybody's is going to be different. It's based on what you make. And all of your life insurance rates will be different because of your demographics, different age groups, female, male, that kind of thing. So when I pass these out, it will tell you exactly how much you would get per week.
How long you got to be off before you can draw?
A good question. If you're injured, next day coverage.
Oh, next day.
If your illness, 8 days. I think that's so you don't try to use it for a cold or the flu. If you're going to
So if you get the COVID, you're covered then?
Say that again?
You get the COVID, you're covered then?
Yes. Up to 13 weeks.
Does that cover like surgeries?
Yes.
Stuff like that?
Yes. So, and we'll have a question. You can ask us any questions now. We'll also have an 800 number that you can call with questions, but they want it to be like a certain time of calling. Like we'll say, we're going to set it up. Like say Monday from noon to 6 or something like that. That's when they'll accept the call-ins if you guys have questions that we don't answer, or you can come up with something after the meeting, okay? So I'm going to pass out the white packets, and Jennifer will explain further how this works, okay?
Everybody's going to get a packet like this, so I'll wait till Beth hands them out, that way you can reference them as I'm going through. But as she mentioned, everyone is getting an individualized packet, and the reason for that is because everybody's going to have their own rate. And with the short-term disability, that is based on what your actual income is, along with your demographics, and then the life insurance is strictly on your demographic information. I feel, yes. So, but what you'll see at the very beginning of the packet, this is the actual enrollment form. So while she's handing that out, I'll kind of talk you through this a little bit. Some of it has already been pre-filled for you. These are your personalized packets, but if you can make sure you fill in any of the missing fields, things like your address, and also.
You get that to Beth after we fill it on?
Yes, you can give it to that.
Okay.
All right.
But there'll be information here if you want to be covering your dependents as well as covering your spouse. You'll need to include the information on that. If you are choosing not to take the coverage at this time, we still need you to complete these and turn them in. So you're going to find that there's going to be a box for you to check to decline the life insurance for yourself, and then also for the short-term disability if you're not taking that. And then the most important thing then after that is there's going to be a signature for you to fill in on the very last page.
That's all my information, Google.
Not at all.
There we go.
Real quick here. Before Jennifer finishes up, I just want to take a minute and say, guys, I really strongly urge you to consider this insurance. You're not going to find any more affordable life insurance or short-term disability insurance than this anywhere. Whether it's your spouse, if you're a dual income family, and if somebody's off work for 13 weeks, that can crush a family. So really think about it in the life insurance. If you happen to pass away or your wife does, what's that going to do for finances? No, not on short-term disability, but on the life insurance. Okay? Think about it as something that you're going to purchase, hoping you don't have to use. You're never going to need it until you do. All right? So if you can afford it, max out the most insurance that you can. Okay? Jennifer, how are you?
All right, okay, so, hey guys, if you can, come on in because we can't yell. Thank you.
So we're going to start, if you want to go to page 15 in your packet. Page 15. And we're going to start by talking about the voluntary life insurance. Now, you can elect it for yourself, you can also elect it for a spouse, and you can elect it for your children. And that's children under the age of 26. You can't elect more benefit for your spouse than what you do for yourself. Okay, so you can't, for example, elect $40,000 on your spouse and just take $20,000 on yourself. So you can be even with your spouse, or your spouse can have less coverage than you. You are able to select it in increments of $10,000, so that's the starting point, is $10,000. As Beth had mentioned, the guaranteed issue is $150,000. So this is kind of your open enrollment period time where you're able to come on up to that guarantee issue without them asking any medical questions.
What does this 35% reduction mean?
Okay, so we'll talk about the reduction. So once you hit age 35, whatever benefit amount you elect will be reduced by 35%. Once you hit age 70, it reduces an additional 15%, and then it won't reduce anymore. I'm sorry, what's the question?
So if you're over 35, you're electing 150.
Oh, no, this is once you hit age 65 and then 70. Yeah, and so once you hit age 65, your benefit reduces 35%. Once you hit age 70, it reduces an additional 15%.
So in other words, if I buy $150,000, and when I turn 65, it reduces its 35%?
Yes,
But the cost still stays the same?
correct. So, the maximum that you are able to sign up for is 500,000. So you can go beyond that 150,000 guarantee. And if you choose to do that, we will need you to fill out a form which is called evidence of insurability. Okay, and that's also here in your packet. And that's where they do ask you medical questions. So if you apply for an amount that's above that 150, just know that that 150 is automatically approved, and any amount above that, they're going to review it. And if you pass through the underwriting process, then you can get that additional amount.
Also, I think you might have touched on that, but if you don't accept or sign up now, when it's first offered to you, that a guarantee issue goes away.
That's correct. So what will happen is we're not going to have another open enrollment until actually 1/1 of 23. Okay. Yes. That's also true of disability. If you don't sign up for the disability right now, if you choose to sign up at a future open enrollment time, they will ask questions at that point and can possibly decline you. Now, on the voluntary life insurance, if you elect $10,000 in life insurance right now during this time, just $10,000, then that kind of gives you a safeguard so that in the future open enrollment periods, if you want to increase that amount, they won't ask questions. So as long as you take $10,000 at this open enrollment, in future years, if you want to increase your amount, you can do that without medical questions. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind too. As you look, I know they have some set amounts that they put on your enrollment form, but there is a table in here, and $10,000 is usually not a whole lot out of your paycheck if you want to at least have that safeguard for the future. For right now, because we're trying to do this for an 8/1 effective date, we'd like to have the forms by Wednesday. Future open enrollments, typically we're trying to marry this up with the medical, so we're doing everything at the same time, which is in January is first effective date. So this is kind of an extended contract, so you won't have another open enrollment till 2023. So just know if you don't enroll now, you'll have to wait till 2023 to have that opportunity again. Yeah.
So the cost of sending to the spouse, one needs to go, let's say you want $150,000, whatever.
I'll look on your portal here. We'll talk about it. Yeah, any cost questions, I'll talk to everyone on an individual basis because everybody's different based on age and so forth. I'd have to look. They should have it on there, but it may be different because of her age. Yes. Okay, we'll take a look at the grid. Yeah. So with your spouse, you can select in increments of $5,000 instead of 10. If your spouse is under the age of 70, they get a $30,000 guaranteed issue. Okay, and then the maximum you can elect then for a spouse at this time is $100,000 without underwriting questions. If your spouse is 70 or older, they're guaranteed $10,000. For children, and again, this is for children under the age of 26, and it's the same rate whether you're enrolling one child or 20 children. It's the same rate for them, and your options are either $5,000 or $10,000 in coverage. Also included in this benefit is accidental death and dismemberment. So if your death is a result of an accident, whatever benefit amount you're electing, it's going to double, and you're not paying anything additional for that. So say, for example, if you elect $100,000 of benefit, you die as a result of an accident, that benefit is automatically $200,000. Okay?
So if you jump out of an airplane, parachute down open, you get the $200,000.
Correct. Are you planning your death?
And also covering my bases. No, but I'm packing a shoe.
Both of us going on that.
Okay. So, you'll also see on page 16, that you can also get some of your benefit on the accidental death and dismemberment side if certain things happen. So, for example, if you have loss of life, obviously, but if you have loss of both your hands or both your feet or one hand or one foot, or you lose sight in your eyes, you will automatically get 100% of the AD&D benefit. Loss of just one hand, one foot, or one eye is 50%. If you lose a thumb or an index finger on the same hand, that's 25%. So you can see there's are benefits that you can cash in on before death, potentially, if it's an accident. The other thing is that if you get a certification from your doctor, so if you're terminally ill, okay, and they deem that you've got less than 2 years to live, you can cash in on $75,000 of your life insurance benefit. Okay, up to $75,000. So just keep that in mind as well. That's money you can use while you're still alive if you need it. Okay. As Beth had mentioned earlier too, it is portable. So if your employment here at Riley terms, you will get a letter from principal, and they will let you know what your rate will be. You can take it with you. You just have to fill out the paperwork, and then you can have it. And they'll bill you directly for the premium at that point. And as long as you pay the premium, you have the benefit. So there is some tables in there. I know that they calculated some of what the benefit would be based on your election. But if you look at the table, and this is on page 21, you can see the benefit amount in that far left-hand corner. And then if you go across the top, you can see what the age amount is. So, for example, for 29 and under, for a $10,000 benefit, that's 35 cents coming out of your pay. So you can just go down and see again, based on the amount that you would want to elect and your age bracket, what that would be. And you also see the reduced benefit in those far right-hand columns for those who are over age 65.
You're talking 2023? Are you talking the year 2023? So after 5/31/23?
That's into the rate here. So yeah, these rates will last.
Oh, okay, before this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, on page 23, these would be the rates for the spouse. Okay, so the same thing, there's a question here on the spouse rates. Based on the age of the spouse, you look at the benefit amount, you find your spouse's age bracket and read over, and that will tell you how much it will be coming out weekly for a spouse to enroll. And then for children, for the $5,000 benefit, it's 23 cents a pay period. That can be for one child or 20 children. Doesn't matter how many. And then it's just 46 a pay for the 10,000 benefit for however many children you enroll.
And to do the life insurance policies for like kids, if they're the spouse and the kids, they don't have to be on their health insurance, right?
You do not have to be on health insurance. Yeah, so these are standalone benefits, so they're all independent of each other. You don't have to be enrolled in the medical insurance. You can enroll in short-term and not life, or vice versa, or you could take it all. So you don't have to be in other coverages to enroll in these. So are there any questions on the life insurance before we talk about disability?
In other words, page 63 over.
Okay, so if you can turn to page 29 in your packet, this will give you an outline of the disability. So the benefit is paid out on a weekly basis. It's 60% of your earnings, and it does cap out at $1,500 a week. As we mentioned earlier, if you have an accident, the benefit begins on that first day. If you have a sickness, it begins on day 8. And the benefit period is for up to 13 weeks. If you happen to be a female employee here, I know there aren't many, pregnancy and childbirth is also treated as a disability. Now, there is a pre-existing clause to the benefit. And what they do, so we have an August 1st effective date. They're going to look back just 3 months. Okay, so they're going to look at May, June, and July. And if you have been diagnosed with something that is a disability, whether it's going to a doctor's office visit or you've got medication that's been filled, that would be deemed a disability, they will not cover that disability for a 12-month period. Okay, but after that 12 months is over, starting August of next year, they would start paying on it. If you have another disability that's not related to that pre-existing condition, they will cover it. Okay? So let's say, for example, you have cancer right now. Okay, so you've already been diagnosed with that. You become disabled, not able to work because of the cancer. They're not going to pay on that cancer diagnosis for 12 months. But if you fall off a ladder, even though you have the cancer, they will pay for that disability. So you get the 13 weeks for each disability that comes up. It's not a total of 13 for the year. It's for each disability that you could potentially have. If you do have a pre-existing condition, I do encourage you to still think about maybe enrolling on August 1st because you want to get that clock starting. That way you know in a year's time you would get coverage for any disability that you currently are.
Does this go up every year?
These rates typically don't go up. I would say we'd at least have up until 2023 that these rates will hold, but typically we don't see increases. And if they are, they're very minimal. Yeah. They stay pretty steady. What's that?
Like everything else goes up.
Yeah. Okay, are there any questions on the disability insurance?
Okay, you talk about pre-existing conditions. Say I was diagnosed with diabetes and I had heart disease because of it. Is that consistent?
If your disability would be a result of that.
Okay. So if I had diabetes and I developed heart disease,
it's hard for me to answer that question, but let's say, let's say that you're diabetic.
I always ask hard questions.
Okay, so let's say you're diabetic and they find out a few months from now they have to amputate a foot because of your diabetes.
Yep.
So that wouldn't be covered for a 12-month period because you've already been diagnosed with the diabetes and they've determined that that's what's causing that particular thing.
What if you give the doctor 50 bucks for saying something?
Well, they'll look at your medical records. Yeah, they're pretty
He's the
thorough.
guy you gotta watch.
Yeah.
But anyway.
If you get on short-term disability, say you're off work for 8 weeks, you come back to work, you work another 3 months or so, you get hurt again. Do you get just the additional remaining of the 13 weeks, or do you get another 13 weeks?
You would probably get the remaining if it's the same diagnosis, but if it's a new diagnosis, it would start over.
So you would get 13 more
Yes.
weeks of short-term disability?
Correct.
I don't know if you guys caught that or if we've talked about it, but this would
That's what I need to
be
know.
So I need to.
pre or post-tax premium. So, no, insurance is pre-tax premium. The reason it's got to be post-tax is because then your disability payments would not be taxed. If we pre-tax you on the premium, then your disability payments would be taxed. So we're doing them on the insurance and the disability, it's after-tax deduction, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah.
So the last thing I want to talk about with you is on page 37. These are some extra discounts and services that are included if you take the life insurance. So they give you things like laser vision correction, and they have a hearing aid program. Those of you who are on the medical or vision plans, this would probably not be applicable to you. But there's also an employee assistance program. So there's an 800 number that you can see there that you can call, and that's if you're having any type of issues. It could be that you're having stress issues at work. It could be that you're having legal issues. You're having problems at home. You can call that 800 number, and they will direct you to talk to a professional who can give you some free counseling and things like that for those types of services. You can also go online and have access to a will. So all you would have to do is go in and you complete the template and print it out and then go to a notary to get it notarized, and then you've got a legal will that you can use. And again, that's at no cost to you. There's an identity theft kit, and they also offer beneficiary support. Certainly, hopefully it will never happen, but if there would be a result of a death here, I certainly get involved and help your beneficiaries as well as far as filing claims and getting things submitted. But Principal is really good too, once you get engaged with them, to offer support to your beneficiaries in the back.
When I stole one, don't let it on.
Okay, so we would like to have the forms back as soon as possible, just because we're nearing that 8/1 effective date, and we want to get everybody enrolled. I think the deadline that we're trying to establish is no later than Wednesday, if you can get those back in. Yeah, just turn them into Beth. Yep. When would everything start if we don't have this back?
I already got one.
So we signed it a week ago, and you got it, and so you have.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
The diabetes is a big issue with the disability. If I get any kind of sickness related to diabetes. So where's the right here? Oh, that's I got it checked, but I haven't checked it out. The bottom number one.
Yeah, I got it when I got back from vacation. Wrong page. All right, everybody. Let's thank Jennifer for coming and explaining this all is good. Appreciate you, Jennifer. I know a lot of this is probably hard to hear, guys. Anything Jennifer went over, we'll be explaining that packet that you have. If you have questions, feel free to ask. We can set up a time like Beth said, where we'll have an 800 number where we can call in. I really want to encourage you guys to take this home, read through it, understand it, and decide what you can and cannot do. Also, please don't forget, we have Crane back here with Legal Shield. If that interests anybody, please go talk to him. That's a service I think a lot of us could use. So these are some resources for you guys. I hope you use them. Thanks for coming, and that's all we got, folks.